Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Anusha Soni. 41 workers were finally freed from the Uttarakhand tunnel late evening yesterday after 17 long days. As the first worker walked out of the tunnel, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, Union Minister General V.K. Singh warmly welcomed the workers as the miraculous and the heroic operation came to an end, a successful end. The rescue operation goes down in the history as one of the most challenging tunnel rescue operations. It stands out as a saga of grit, determination and resilience of the 41 trapped workers who awaited a miraculous rescue, never lost hope. Alongside the resilience of the ones who were rescued, the visible, tenacious efforts of the rescue teams, the multiple agencies, Prime Minister's office, its officials, Chief Minister, General V.K. Singh, the Union Minister who monitored the operation 24/7, nodal officers Neeraj Khairwal, micro-tunneling expert Chris Cooper and another tunneling expert Arnold Dix, all these names deserve a special mention. This was the team also that led these operations along with the rat hole mining expert who led the operation and used their talents and bare hands and expertise to pull out the 41 workers safely. It was a top-level mission for Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he decided to send in the top-level functionaries of the government to camp at the tunnel site and personally monitor and oversee the renewed rescue efforts soon after the auger machine had broken last week. Despite the mammoth rescue operation ending successfully with no injuries by the grace of God, parties continue to politicize this great Himalayan rescue operation. There are statements coming in from all the sides. You have Congress leaders who have questioned the delay, asking why it took 17 days to breach a 50-meter mark. Congress MP has also called for a thorough audit of the tunnel projects or a complete ban on the Himalayan projects at this point because there is no feasibility study that has been done. Is this merely a bit to trivialize the great Himalayan rescue? Or there are real substantial questions waiting to be answered on the feasibility of the projects? We take that question to our guests in just a bit. But before that, we take a look at the war of words that has erupted on this operation, the successful operation that has been completed. Let's talk about the voices that we have heard through the day, the political statements coming in. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, the former Environment Minister in the Congress regime, has argued that there has to be a thorough audit that must go on. Till then, we must put all the future projects on hold in the Himalayan region, especially certain parts of Himalayas which are known to be porous. You also have Mr. Pramod Tiwari from the Congress party who has said that our country has reached the moon but we could not reach 50 meters in 17 days. Many experts will tell you that scientifically this may not be the most viable comparison. You have Hemant Biswa Sarma, the Assam Chief Minister and the BJP leader, who has said that insensitivity of the Congress was visible as they were busy in Telangana program. He also said that while the country was struggling in praying for these workers, they were basically busy in their celebrations and were not really sensitive to the needs of the people. That's the question we ask. The great Himalayan rescue, there is a credit war which is out there. There's also a call to audit. Is this merely about trivializing this entire operation, or are there pertinent questions that need to be answered? Our focus here on Plain Speak tonight.
The first two persons have come out from the tunnel is what we have been told from a person who is from a source who is inside the tunnel at this point in time. Two people have come out, Vijay Hori and Ganpati Hori.
बहुत कठिन था, बड़ा चुनौतीपूर्ण था और अंततः सफलता मिली है। और मैं इसमें सभी जिन लोगों ने भी इस रेस्क्यू अभियान में अपना योगदान दिया है, अपना सहयोग दिया है, उन सभी का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ।
आज की सुबह में ज़्यादा रोशनी लग रही है?
रोशनी लग रही है, बहुत चंगा लग रहा है। नई तरंग, नई उमंग चल रही है और यही चलता रहेगा।
मुश्किलें आने के बाद भी हमने ये एक जज्बा बना लिया था कि हमें करना ही करना है।
आप जैसे हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने सर आप जो है जब बाहर से हमारे देश के कंट्री अदर कंट्री से आप लोग खींच के इंसान को बचा के ला सकते सर, तो हम तो सर अपने घर में थे, इसलिए हमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं सर। यहाँ पे हमारे भगवान भोगनाथ बाबा जी है सर, उनके ऊपर भी सर हमें बहुत विश्वास था और उनकी कृपा भी हमारे पास और हमारे सारे दोस्तों के ऊपर बनी है सर।
किस तरीके से आज घर पे आपने दीपावली मनाई है?
हम आज दीपावली मना रहे, उस दीपावली दिन यही बात सुनने को मिली, तो कहाँ दीपावली दीपक जलाना, कुछ नहीं जला रहा, ना प्रसाद चढ़ाया रहा।
आज बड़ी खुशी मनाई रही और इतना लोकर धन्यवाद सीधे आए रे दूरा दूरा थे तीन दिन कालने लाए रे सारे बच्चे सारी उम्र राजी रो प्यारे ना।
हमारा देश चांद पे पहुंच गया है और हम अपने से खड़े हुए 50 मीटर दूर तक 17 दिन नहीं पहुंचे। आवश्यकता है इस घटना से सबक लेते हुए।
हेलो मोटो।
Let's talk about this great Himalayan rescue operation. It is an example for the rest of the world. There was no knee-jerk reaction. More importantly, the authorities kept their cool and they reached to the last person. 41 workers were rescued safely and all of them they are healthy and fine with no serious injuries which have been reported, not even to the one who were leading these rescue efforts. Often in these operations we have seen across the world, whether it's the famous Thai cave rescue or the 2014 German cave rescue operation, a lot of time it's the rescuers and the rescue team which put their life in jeopardy. But in this operation, utmost caution was taken to ensure that no lives are jeopardized. Let me take that question, that entire rescue operation, the politics around it, to our guests as well who are joining us on the broadcast. We have Charu Pragya, who's joining us from the BJP. Dolly Sharma from the Congress party is also with us on the broadcast. Arya Ghosh, who's a national safety and security analyst and expert, with us on the show. Anup Nautiyal, who's an environmental activist, is also with us on the show. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And in my opening comments, as I said, that this has been one of the miraculous rescue operations that we have seen in this country. Charu, I want you to open the show for us, the debate for us. When it comes to the criticism of the Congress party and even certain environmentalists who I've spoken to in the last few days point out to the need for some kind of audit. Mr. Jairam Ramesh today has spoken about it. How do you see the criticism coming in from certain activists and the political opponents?
Anusha, a very good evening to you. And let's begin by being thankful and saying a big thank you to all the 2,000 people who were involved in this miraculous rescue operation. It took 17 days, but all 41 workers were out and without any harm, and that's an incredible feat. And that actually makes me see the difference between India today and India of the past. India of today sends out a special plane to bring the best rescue expert from the world to the site and to get the workers out of the tunnel. India of the past used to actually send a special plane to fly out the CEO of Union Carbide after the Bhopal gas tragedy. This difference we need to remember. We have come into our own today when it comes to rescue operations, whether within our own land or anywhere abroad. We have proved time and time again that every single Indian life is precious, and the government of India and whichever state governments are involved will leave no stone unturned in making sure that we are able to do our best to protect every single citizen.
Charu, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you here, but I'm sure you won't mind this interruption because we have a very special guest. We have a very special guest joining us on the broadcast. We have Colonel Deepak Patil, who's with us on the show. He's somebody who led these rescue operations for NHIDCL, one of the very instrumental officers to make this entire operation a huge success. So first, a big congratulations to you. Thank you so much for sparing your time. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. What kind of journey it has been for you? You led the operations. Tell us more about how this success was built, brick by brick, moment by moment.
Well, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you people. The operation was never ever impossible. It was a very much possible operation, and it was well within the means that we had. The only thing was that the time was a constraint.
Sure.
So when we started using this auger machine, Initially we could do the things quite fast because there was only soil and a little bit of stones in the path of the pipe, the 800 dia pipe. Initially, we had put the 900 dia pipe, and later on, when it got stuck between the stones, we could break few of them with the drill of the auger, and then remove it through the auger system.
Yes.
However, later when we could not push it any further, we started using another 800 dia pipe telescopically inserted inside, so that the friction was reduced, and then this 800 dia pipe also went quite far.
Yeah.
And at 47.7 somewhere chainage, it got stuck. It got stuck and entangled into the lattice girders and the pipe roofing pipes, and thereafter it could not pull those things out, and it started damaging the head of the pipe itself.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the time when a little setback was there. People are a little worried as to now this operation
Colonel
is
Patil,
stuck.
how did it really strike you or people who were strategizing that perhaps rat mining technique needs to be used? I was going through different kind of rescue operations that the world has undertaken, and this kind of multifaceted approach is rare to find.
See, we were very clear on this approach that the auger system will work.
Yeah.
But then I was very apprehensive that we will encounter a lot of steel bars and steel girders en route the pipes in which the direction in which we had sent. Because when a collapse of this kind takes place in the primary lining failure, we don't know exactly where the primary lining structures are lying. We exactly don't know that. Although, yes, out of the 60-meter length of the debris, most of it we did not find much of the steel members. However, in the last 10-15 meters, we did find that, and that was the difficult part. So when it got stuck there, we had to remove the entire auger. We had to also remove the head of the auger, that is the drill bit.
Yeah.
And then the only option which was left with us was to start removing the muck in front of the pipe's face using manpower. And our strategy now was to go as slow as possible, remove the hurdles in front of the pipe, and go inch by inch, feet by feet. And later, we could even go 2.5 meters in one go.
Sir, how did you motivate your team to ensure 17 days, and that's a long rescue operation? I'm sure you've done multiple rescue operations of different natures. Some take longer, some are done far more quickly, but this one took long. And you were so close to success many times, but there were impediments in the way. What kept the morale of your team so up? Was it the leadership? Was it the backing of the government? Or was it the fact that 41 workers were, you could talk to them, you could see them, you could administer food to them?
Well, see, the entire nation's machinery, the manpower, the leadership was here. NHIDCL's senior officials were here. The MOTH officials were here. The state government officials were here. And the resources were pulled in from all across the country. There were green corridors which were made.
Yes.
C-130 Hercules were landed in the advanced landing ground at Chenyali, Dharasu. The C-17 Globemaster was landed, and things were moving by road, by train, through green corridors from all across the country.
Yeah.
So this might of the country did give a self-confidence to all these people who were working here, and the people, plus the media, who were seeing all this plethora of equipment being flown in, being transported to this spot of disaster. That gave everybody the strength. Plus the senior ministers also came to the site, and they were also supervising things. So with this kind of leadership, with this kind of involvement of everybody from the government side, that gave us a lot of strength. And we knew that we are going to succeed. And whatever we wanted, we were just giving them a text through the WhatsApp, and we were getting everything from. We had multiple welding machines, from laser cutting to magna cutters to blow torches, gas cutters, plus people who are experts
Colonel
in
Patil,
doing all this.
on that note, I want to ask you this question quite candidly because you're already elaborating on it. That often we see bureaucracy as a hurdle in getting things done in this country. But this rescue operation is an example that when the system and leadership decides to get something done for the benefit of the larger, public at large, for public interests, things can move, systems can move, and they can move for the last person on the ground.
Yes, of course, the synergy is important, and it's not that things always go wrong. There are a lot of times when things are right, they're perfect.
Sure.
When everybody involves and starts working in the positive direction, I think we can do jobs which looks like impossible.
So, as I close this discussion with you, are there any lessons that you take back when you would think about this rescue operation in hindsight, or perhaps when you think about this rescue operation in hindsight, what is it that sticks in your memory?
Well, I feel we should have machines of this kind placed at different places.
Okay.
Not exactly this kind. We need to modify the machines a little bit with some new technology. I have certain things in my mind. Possibly, I'll try it out and get the existing machines modified. Possibly with very high pressure cutters, which can be used using water jets. And with those kind of things, I think even steel bars will not be a hurdle. With high jet pressure of water, you can even cut diamonds.
Absolutely. Colonel Patil, once again, a big congratulations for the great feat that you and your team have achieved. The entire nation is proud of the work and this rescue operation. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening and Jai Hind to everybody.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you so much. Well, that was Colonel Deepak Patil, who led these rescue operation for NHIDCL. And I thank you all for patiently waiting on the broadcast. Charu, you were making an argument. Sorry you were interrupted, but you were pointing out how things and dynamics have changed, and perhaps even the lives of ordinary citizens are equally important.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for that interview, because that gave us a clear insight on how, as you rightly said, bureaucracy is now working in sync with the rescuers, not working to create obstacles. And the way the opposition has reacted in recent times, and I've taken it to heart, and I feel terrible about it, because you've gotten to a point at an all-time low where you're wishing ill on a prime minister. You've started wishing ill on our indigenous plane. You wanted to crash actually just to fulfill your political objectives. Congress was, if I can use the word, cheap enough to put out a tweet yesterday with a photograph of Prime Minister Modi outside the tunnel. And this is the same Congress actually which held off sending relief material to Uttarakhand in 2013 because Rahul Gandhi was abroad and they needed him for a photo op. So, it's been done in such a distasteful manner that it is shameful. You don't want your country to win. You don't want your citizens to be safe. You're actually praying for operation failure. You're praying for the failure of not just a fighter jet. You're now praying that the tunnel operation does not work out fine and something happens while that's happening, and you're talking about it, you're open about it, and that is beyond shameful.
All right.
I cannot believe that the Indian polity has dropped to such a low that you would wish ill upon your fellow citizens just to fulfill some kind of a political non-objective that you have identified.
Jolly, I'd leave those arguments for you to respond. Please go ahead.
First of all, I would like to a big salute to every member of the rescue team, be it the army, the underground tunneling experts, the others involved, who have put in their hard work and best efforts. So I would like to salute all of them, and I would not like to politicize this, but yes, there are few serious questions that we need to ask, because it was
You were politicizing it yesterday. Your official handle tweeted, Dolly. I would like you to address that. I would like you to address that.
Dolly,
The viewers deserve to know why you were politicizing it
Charu,
yesterday.
you've made that question. You've made that point.
When
Jolly,
you were
please
speaking,
make your argument.
I did not speak even for a second.
Yes,
That's
please
not
make
right.
your argument. Please make your argument.
Yeah.
That will be the decorum of the debate. Make your argument.
So hats off to them for saving the life of 41 people, laborers who were stuck at that Uttarakhand's Uttarkashi tunnel. So, but the serious questions that I would like to ask here are that the stringent precautionary safety measures, as in physical safety audits, reporting, should be provisioned and followed before allotment of any mark of scale. And when we talk about mountains, So the projects in high mountains need to be analyzed with reports with respect of their potential exposure to the landslides, avalanches, the glacial lake outbursts, floods, etc. But here, I would like to just quote HPC's report. HPC had flagged in its report that the government had split 889 kilometers of Char Dham road, widening project into 53 projects. All the segments were less than 100 kilometers, which allowed it to evade environmental impact assessments. So this, what is the impact of it? Impact is risking the life of the workers who are working, like we have seen now, right? And in future, risking the life of the people who will be using such roads and whatever. So, and also, if I talk about Char Dham, so there is a geologist, you must have heard of C.P. Rajendram, who is from the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. He said on Char Dham Road, ignoring what science demanded is also one of the main reasons. So Congress party is just focusing on all those points.
So, Dolly, the bit you spoke about the project being broken into 53 parts and the EIA being overlooked, the questions that the geologists have raised on the entire project, I'll take both those points to Charu. But there is another question that the BJP is repeatedly asking you, that in the political narrative which is coming out from the opposition and from the Congress party, it seems like that any kind of effort which was being made to rescue these workers was being dissed at. It was not being taken in the right spirit. And somewhere the opposition wanted this rescue operation to fail, which is not really in the national interest. That's a direct question that the BJP has asked.
Only the blame game that BJP is all into. Despite of being in power, every time what they do is just blaming the opposition. This is what they are doing now. So this is nothing new. I've just raised the very valid questions that needs to be asked, because this is not only one project or not only risking the life of 41 workers for 17 days. We have to look at the future also.
Okay.
So we have to just look, 889 kilometers divided into 50.
That point is taken. We also have two other gentlemen, Arya Ghosh and Anup Nautyal, with us on the broadcast. But before that, quick 30 seconds to Charu Pragya, and then I'll go to other panels.
10 seconds.
Dolly, you've made your point. You've made your point. I'm taking that quick response. Yes, Charu.
Now, the Dolly who's pretending to be holier than thou right now has completely glossed over the fact that this was a tweet which was put out by the Congress party's official handle yesterday. I hope you can see it. I would request the camera person to please zoom in close to this.
Why don't you read that?
This is the level to which the Indian political opposition had fallen. And she did not bother to reply to this. It's well and good to say, I salute all the rescue workers, not acknowledging for a minute that these rescue workers were working because the government of India went out of its way, whether it was to get machinery from Slovenia, to get a rescue expert from Australia, to make sure that all kinds of machinery was at hand, officials were deployed. Chief Minister was visiting every single day. Our Minister Gadkari ji,
I have to involve the other guests also into the discussion. I'll come back to the feasibility of the project. Mr. Arya Ghosh, when it comes to this rescue operation, Charu, I'll come back to you. Mr. Arya Ghosh, when it comes to this rescue operation, indeed it has been a miraculous, a heroic one, but it also points out, talking specifically about the rescue operation, that if there is a synergy between different authorities, governments, departments and organizations, unimaginable tasks, impossible is possible, quite literally. What have we learned from this rescue operation? Point number one. And secondly, do you find any of the criticism that has been raised by the opposition party, especially about the environment impact assessment study, to be a viable one?
Good evening to all. Basically, beyond politics, to answer your first question is related to the rescue part. Synergy. I guess that's important. That's imperative that there is a coordinated effort which should exist, and there was a dearth of it, to be honest. But that can happen under any government or any administration. So that is something which we'd have to fill in the gaps. Or if there was any loopholes, we'll have to look into this. And as I was listening to the gentleman from the NHIDL or the authority there, so I'm sure they have learned a lesson and they would, do the needful. As far as the political comments are concerned, I would like to reserve my comments, but political reactions are concerned. But it is imperative once again to take into account the EIA because, as I said, you have to strike a balance between environmental hazard and development because both are equally important. Keeping in view the kind of infrastructure that our neighbors have made, we require to make certain innovations so for the army convoys to reach the places where they are required, or the travelers for the pilgrims. But again, the hilly terrain and its load carrying capacity, etc., will have to take into consideration.
Sure. So you point out the need for us from a national security point of view to make infrastructure, and I believe no political party or no one can deny that. It's just about the right kind of balance. Mr. Nautiyal, the kind of questions that have been raised about the feasibility of projects and whether due diligence or the right kind of balance has been struck when we create these pieces of infrastructure, your thoughts on the feasibility of these projects and the criticism that has been raised by certain people?
So Anusha, everyone knows that the Himalayas are very, very fragile. They are still in the making. They are what is called baby mountains. And so this is a well-known fact. The other thing is that if we just look at 2023, as I've been mentioning, several times in several debates, this 2023 itself has been a landmark year in terms of so many disasters, which have come across the Indian Himalayan region. Several of them, in fact, here in Uttarakhand. So, the year began with Joshimath, then you had Himachal Pradesh in July, August, then you had Uttarakhand, then you had Sikkim last month in October, and now you have the Silkyara Uttarkashi tunnel mishap. So mishaps have been, sadly on an upward trajectory. And I think the larger, bigger question is that, where do we move from here? Now, there are several aspects or elements. How does one look at that? And, I think at a very, very strategic level, this is a question for the government of India that in terms of an attitudinal and a strategic shift, that do we want to prevent disasters or do we want to manage disasters? So I think this is I think, even though I said it in one or two lines, but I think this is $1 million billion question.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Because the sense that I'm getting from several debates is, so there is, one lobby which is already talking about, having more machines, having more augers. And as far as I'm concerned, sitting here in Uttarakhand, I personally, would not say that is a very, very wise approach. I think we have to follow, if we are looking globally, we have to try and look at Japan. If we are looking nationally, we have a wonderful state, the state of Odisha, which has done, excellent work when it comes to both
prevention and management.
So this particularly, and pardon the choice of my words, I'm going to call it a little bit, and this is irrespective of parties, so I don't want to get into this X, Y, Z.
Sure.
But this cowboy recklessness kind of, cavalier attitude, which is prevalent with the Himalayas. So the Himalayas, of course, or Uttarakhand, the other states, as we have said, a million times, are very, 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 very fragile. We have to be extreme.
So I'm going to take on 2 points that you've mentioned here. One is that we as a country need to make a policy decision that whether it's about prevention or whether it's about management of disaster. And somebody who's living like you, living in Uttarakhand, knowing this subject well enough, you believe that we should be preventing these disasters. The second point, Charu, that I want you to address is about this one question that has been repeatedly asked on the broadcast, which is about the Char Dham project, the overall project and how it was broken down into 53 small projects. And there was no proper environment impact study that was done. Mr. Jairam Ramesh or the Congress party argues that, look, we're not politicizing We're only asking these substantial questions and BJP should answer us on the substance. So address this point, Charu.
Anusha, thank you. And yes, it remains of concern because, as my co-panelist said, the Himalayas region is a sensitive one, and it is also a very populous one. It is also one which is very frequently visited by tourists of all kinds. So we have to be careful when we look at increasing the infrastructure in that area. But at the same time, be rest assured that while we are working to increase and improve the infrastructure, we are doing our utmost best to remain conscious of the environmental impact of that. In fact, I proudly say this, it is now that Government of India is conscious of environmental impact. It is now that we are talking about everything that pertains to the environment, whether it is protecting our animals or forests, whether it is making sure we use more and more renewable energy, and using a very scientific method to make roads or homes, etc. in mountainous regions. See, development does come at a cost, and that cost has to be calculated very carefully. Nobody and no government, and I say this with a lot of clarity, will ever want any kind of destruction like this to happen, big or small. No government wants it. But at the same time, while I'm certain the Government of India has already started working on inquiries as to why this particular mishap happened, you cannot take away from the fact that the last 10 years we have been on a fast track to development in a very conscious manner, in a manner when we are taking our ecology with us. We are not just focusing on other aspects of it.
Charu, within the government,
today
or,
when
I'm with you. We're talking this out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that has there been a rethink, or you sense there could be a rethink on a lot of projects about their feasibility and viability with this particular incident, which has been a lesson for the entire nation, Charu?
Anusha, see, I want to say this with let's weigh this out in the correct manner. Do you think if we tell people not to go to the mountainous regions or to visit the Char Dham, do you think that's going to work? We know there is tourism there. We know people are going to flock to those destinations. Doesn't it make more sense to actually connect the Char Dham in a better way, in a way where it becomes easily accessible to the people of this country? 80% of our population would be interested in visiting the Char Dham. People from abroad come. So it's not something that you can take away and suddenly say, oh, because it lies in a sensitive zone, we cannot allow people to visit. That's one thing. The second thing is that when you talk of an incident like this, it is the exception, it's not the rule. The rule is good roads. The rule is green roads. Rule is ecologically conscious development, and we've been talking about it. So one terrible tragedy like this should not cloud the good work that Government of India continues to do. And I still feel bad that the opposition has not bothered to reply to the fact that they really were praying for this
a quick response that I want to take
my
from
other
the Congress
co-panelist said.
I have limited time. Charu. I have to close the debate.
Would not have done this.
One question, Dolly, which I believe which I believe the Congress party should answer while you address the other point is that in this operation, what was very heartening for me also as a journalist to see was that the entire machinery was moving for those 41 workers who were trapped inside. These were not VVIPs, these were not netas, these were not rich and powerful people. These were ordinary workers who were far away from their home, working at a construction site. And when they were stuck, the machinery came to their rescue. This is not something we have seen so often in the past.
See, we have seen Joshimath last year, 250 blasts back to back, and what we have seen was disastrous in Joshimath. And we did not learn anything from Joshimath. It is not we, Congress party, saying anything. It is the geologists saying that we are ignoring what science demanded, and 889 kilometers divided into 59 projects, all the segments are less than 100 kilometers, means you are deliberately breaking up the project into smaller projects to bypass the detailed environmental assessments. Why are you doing this? You are risking the life of the people involved, as in the workers involved, and also the risk for the future also who will be traveling on those roads.
Well, I hope that if these questions that the Congress party is raising are substantial, substantial enough, this can be taken up at the right forums. For now, it's a matter which has been given at least a go-ahead for now by the Supreme Court of the country. This was raised at the top court also. These concerns were raised at the top court as well. As I close this discussion, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. It has been a miraculous rescue operation. Lessons have been learned, and it's important that we think about the lessons that we've learned as a nation and as a system.